Now, the first difference I want to take a look at is their belief in life after death. The concept of life and death in Hinduism is a constant circle of reincarnation until enlightenment is achieved. For Muslims, they have a much different belief, one that's more of this is your only chance, get your act together right now kind of belief. According to Islamic teachings, all human beings are created with the ability to reason and to make intelligent choices and will be accountable to God on the day of judgment. They'll be rewarded with either eternal life for their good deeds or they're punished for their evil deeds. So it's kind of like, you're on this planet right now. Get it right. Find out what are the good deeds that you gotta do. Now I want to take a look at the meaning between the two words, Hinduism and Islam. So first I want to look at Hinduism.
Hinduism is the ancient religion of India. It's the third largest religion in the world with over 1 billion followers. And for many people, it's very difficult to understand what Hinduism is because in so many ways, it is more like a disorganized religion than an organized religion.
Hinduism, the root word Hindu has geographical significance and was used originally for those people who live beyond the river Sindhu or the region of waters by the river Indus. Hindus themselves call their religion Sanatana Dharma, meaning eternal law. So Hindus don't actually say I'm Hindu. The only language Hindu is called Hindu is in English. For Islam, Islam is an Arabic word and it means submission or surrender in ultimate peace. Muslim means a believer in one God, Allah. But that's pretty much what they mean in a nutshell. Now let's take a look at the differences with their scriptures. In Hinduism, they use Vedas, Upanishad, Puranas, Gita, Smriti, and Shruti are the oral scriptures. And in Islam, the Quran and the traditions of the holy last messenger Muhammad called the Sunnah, which is found in narrations or hadiths. And I've started to read the Bhagavad Gita, the Hindu book, as well as the Quran for myself, just to kind of find out two completely different writing styles and tones. But that's just me. I like learning and it's life-changing just to understand someone else's beliefs. Alright, let's take a look at the differences with the holy days. In Hinduism, there is Diwali, Holi, Ramnavami, Hanuman Jayanti, Ganesh Chaturthi, and many more. There are many holy days in Hinduism, which differ based on the region that you go also. In Islam, there's of course Ramadan, the month of fasting, Eid al-Adha, which is the feast of the sacrifices, and Eid al-Fitr, which is the festival at the end of Ramadan. Pretty simple. Muslims kind of keep it just very simple. Hindus, they like to party. And I mean that in the most respectful way possible. Clergy is completely different as well. Because Hinduism doesn't actually have any official clergy, but some of the titles in Hinduism are gurus, that's a spiritual teacher. Yogis is a person who is proficient in yoga. Rishis is a Hindu sage or saint. And then there's Brahmins, which is a member of the highest Hindu caste. There are also priests that perform certain rituals as well as priestesses inside of Hinduism. They have monks who are members of a religious community of men, typically living under vows of poverty, and some live under a vow of chastity. And nuns as well show up in Hinduism, and that is pretty much the female version of a monk. Inside of Islam, there's the Imam, and Imam leads congregational prayers in a mosque. In Shia Islam, these are also seen as the leaders of the Muslim community. In Islam, there's also sheikhs, and sheikhs are commonly the chief or head of an Arab tribe, family, or village. Then there's a Mullanas, and that's a title that precedes the name of a respected Muslim religious leader. And Mullahs is a Muslim learned in Islamic theology and sacred law, and Muftis is a Muslim legal expert who can give rulings on religious matters. So the main practices and the most popular practices that each of these religions are known for, starting off with Hinduism, there is meditation, there's also yoga, and there's a lot of contemplation, as well as yagna, which is communal worship, and people bring offerings in the temple as well. The most common practice out of that list is probably yoga or meditation. And Islam, the 5 pillars of Islam, which are are the testament that there is one God and Muhammad is his messenger. That's called the Shahada. And then there's a prayer 5 times a day, fasting during the month of Ramadan, giving to the poor, as well as the pilgrimage to Mecca, and that is called the Hajj. Their places of worship are also different. Inside of Hinduism, there's the temple or the mandir, and in Islam, they worship in mosques or masjids, and they are the most common places of worship, as well as there's community centers and any other place considered clean by Islamic law. You're free to worship there as well. Interesting fact, many Hindu temples are also located near rivers or other bodies of water. The style and the shape of certain temples changes according to the location. So you can go to different parts of the world, you may see some variations here and there. Muslims worship in mosques, as I mentioned, which show less geographical ties to the location that they're in, as do Hindu temples. And they're relatively large in size when you stack them side by side with Hindu temples. Mosques also contain large ceiling paintings, and some even have extra facilities like doctors' offices. Now let's talk about the origin and location. So Islam is a monotheistic Abrahamic religion, and it was founded by the Prophet Muhammad in the Arabian Peninsula at Mount Hira in the 7th century CE. And when I say founder, by the way, I don't mean that he invented the teachings of Islam. Rather, I mean that he was the instrument used to proclaim the message of the Quran first. An Abrahamic religion means that it has its roots from the Prophet Abraham. Hinduism, on the other hand, is a religious tradition that originated in the Indian subcontinent in the pre-classical era, about 1500 to 500 BCE, and it does not have any specific founder. Hindus today, you can find them mainly in India, Nepal, Mauritius, and Hinduism also has significant populations in Fiji, Bhutan, United Arab Emirates, and other parts of the world. Muslims, by the percentage of the total population in a particular region, it looks like this. 24.8% are in Asia, Oceania, 91.2% are in the Middle East and North Africa, 29.6% are in Sub-Saharan Africa, and around 6% are in Europe. 0.6% are located in the Americas. The second last difference I'm looking at is the goal of the religion. First, when it comes to Hinduism, Hindus aim to break the cycle of birth, death, and reincarnation and attain salvation, which sparks an interesting question. If you could choose who you could reincarnate as, who would you pick? Let me know down below in the comment section. For Islam, the general goal is to fulfill your responsibility of this life through following the Holy Quran and the Hadith and serving humanity and submitting to the will of God. In terms of achieving salvation, in Hinduism, you can achieve salvation by reaching enlightenment by the path of knowledge, the path of devotion, or the path of good deeds. Attaining salvation in Islam is done through the belief in one God, remembrance of God, repenting of your sins regularly, and praying and trusting in God's mercy. And the number one difference is the belief in God. So this is probably the most important part of any religion anyways, would be the belief in the God or deities. Because of course that would shape why you practice a certain religion. For Hindus, right, there are many gods, over 30 million types of gods. Although the exact number is pretty impossible to actually calculate, 30 million is a pretty good estimate.
Having millions of gods, Hindus have a wide variety of core beliefs. The diversification in Hinduism is in the possibility that each believer may follow a unique philosophy and worship different gods.
Now, the Hindu trinity consists of Brahma, the creator, Vishnu, the preserver, and Shiva, the destroyer. Their feminine counterparts are Swavasrati, the wife of Brahma, Lakshmi, the wife of Vishnu, and Parvati, the wife of Shiva. In Islam, completely simple. God is the one true creator. God has always existed. None existed before him and will ever exist after him. God exists forever. He transcends life and death. He knows all and he sees all. Alright, so the first similarity is both Hinduism and Islam accept God as a supreme being and the Lord of the universe. He's the creator and the sustainer of all living beings and the entire creation, everything that we can see and cannot see. God is the source and the cause cause of the divine law, which is called Dharma in Hinduism, which he upholds through his will. Also, both religions believe that God has the power to execute and enforce his will at any time. It's mentioned in both the Quran and the Gita that God is a supreme being and he has complete power over the universe and he guides it according to his or her vision. God doesn't have a specific gender in either of the religions either. Both religions believe that remembering and reciting names of God as well as mantras really creates an inner connection to the divine being. This is why prayer is done 5 times a day in Islam and sometimes less based on the branch of Islam, and why Hindus are encouraged to keep the mind connected to spiritual thoughts as they go throughout the day. There's also similarities in Harut and Marut. So the Quran mentions the names of 2 angels called Harut and Marut who possessed the knowledge of sorcery and magic and taught knowledge to those who wanted to learn sorcery and magic only as a test of their faith. Now, inside of the Hinduism religion, spiritual adepts invoke Marut, one of the angels, to attain supernatural powers, to perform miracles and do superhuman acts. And I know quite a bit of you say that Islam and Hinduism, they're not religions, they're actually just ways of life. Well, I'm using the term religion because there is a religious structure to them currently, and regardless if you believe they're just simply a way of life, well, a religion is a way of life. So I just want to clarify that. I don't mean to step on anybody's toes or anything. But with that said, let's move on. There's tons of similarities also with prophets and divine incarnation. Well, tons is kind of an exaggeration, but there are some similarities. So check this. Islam believes in prophets and that many were raised from among humans for social as well as religious reforms. They spoke in the language that people could really relate to. But in Hinduism, they believe that God incarnates himself on earth to restore true religion, and he's called an avatar or a divine incarnation. The Srimad Bhagavat speaks of divine incarnations. So yeah, Hinduism does agree with the Islamic view of there being many prophets, but Islam does not consider prophets as incarnations of God, but rather they consider them to be human beings and servants of God. In the Hindu Vedas, it also calls prophets rishis or sages, and the Vedas do not call them divine incarnations. However, in later times, rishis were called men of supernatural powers. There are similarities also in the idea of mental and physical purification. So Islam, they completely stress on physical and mental purification. Physical purification can be achieved through a bath in a prescribed certain way. But in the absence of water, you can use tayammum to purify yourself. And in this process, one can rub his hands on a lump of soil and then rubbing their hands on the body in a certain way. Also, reciting certain prayers has a lot greater rewards. But centuries before Islam was an organized religion, Hindus also stressed physical purification by bathing the body with water, and in the absence of water, the body could be purified by smearing ashes over the body. Hinduism also believes in the law of karma, and Islam believes that God rewards people for good deeds and punishes them for bad deeds. Inside the Quran, you'll see passages like, whoever does a good deed, he shall be repaid tenfold, and whoever does evil, he shall be repaid with evil. So it's in a sense the same belief, but it's just worded differently. That's why it's so important that we discuss different religions and different points of view so we can gain certain understandings and understand each other. Both religions also believe in the moral responsibility of each individual towards others and practice things like charity giving, doing good deeds, being forgiving, eating in moderation, as well as drinking in moderation, practicing self-control, being friendly, being patient, and showing tons of gratitude. The next thing I want to talk about is the tolerance of the religions. Hinduism is a very tolerant religion. Hindus believe that each individual has a choice to pursue a path in accordance to his or her inner guidance. And also, you get to take responsibility for your own salvation. In Hinduism, the pursuit of truth is far more important than the belief in a god or a particular divinity. Islam, on the other hand, does not recognize other religions unless they're specifically mentioned inside of the Quran, but Islam does respect every single single religion, and they acknowledge people for doing good things, and even the Quran, it says there is to be no compulsion in religion. So they're very tolerant also in that same sense. And the final thing is both religions believe in the ultimate destruction of the world and that the rescue of the holy people will happen by God. There are, however, some difference in the details in the manner in which this is carried out, because in Hinduism we see Kalki, who is the 10th avatar of the Hindu god Vishnu, and he will bring an end to this final stage of existence and bring forth Satya Yuga, where everything resets and everyone and everything is at the purest ideal. Now in Islam, God will raise from the dead every person who has ever lived and then individually pronounce judgment upon them. And those who are holy will inherit paradise, and those who are found evil will be punished. Although there are certain things that vary, Islam and Hinduism still share the concept that yes, the world one day will end.